Hey guys, this is Kathy here on my YouTube channel. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here today. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. And today we're going to focus on an article and my thoughts on that article. I have written this blog post, it could have been 8 years ago, I don't know. So I've adapted it a little bit to current time. This is an article called 10 Productive Ways to Move On After Infidelity. Although infidelity may not be the focus of your divorce, it may be an issue in your divorce. And even though this article centers around infidelity, I think we can use some of her steps to help us go through the divorce process as well. This article is by Anita Yok Sim Ho, and she's talking about infidelity and how to move on after infidelity, some ways to get through it. And I'm going to adapt it to how to use this to move on after divorce, a few ways to get through it. She goes right into breaking up with a person after infidelity. And probably 99.9% of the time that should be the case. When I look at infidelity, and if someone were to go out and make one mistake, they were in a bad situation, they were weak for a moment, and they're very apologetic for it, and you know that's not their norm, I can see why you would try to work through your marriage, even though they were unfaithful. But in my experience, most people that are unfaithful, that tends to be a habit, something they're going to continue to do. Not always, I'm sure, but probably the majority. Every case is different. The first thing she says is accept that the marriage is over. Stop emotionally investing in the past. The more you hold on to the past, the more you will recreate it in your present moment and in the future. Go through the logistics of separating your lives. Take off that wedding ring. Ask yourself honestly, are you stalling the divorce process? Why? Do you feel scared to let go? I remember in the very early days, I didn't want to let go. I was hoping he'd realize I've broken a promise to my wife. I've broken a promise to my kids. I've broken a promise to my God. And he would come back and we would just figure things out from there. But that didn't happen. I had to let go. I had to accept that the marriage was over. And I think that's very important to do before you move on. I don't think you can move on until you accept that your relationship, your marriage is over. And she did mention a ring. I did pawn my ring. I remember I took it to, this was very early on, because to me it represented a lie. So I took it to a jewelry store in the mall, and they offered me like $50 for it because they weren't going to count, I think that either the diamond or the gold band, I can't recall. But I thought that's terrible. So then I went to a pawn shop and they doubled or tripled the amount. I forget off the top of my head, but it was significantly better. And so I pawned my ring. Number 2, allow yourself to feel. You cannot heal what you do not recognize consciously. Be aware of your thoughts, bodily sensations, and reactions. This is a time when you may think you're going crazy with mood swings and harsh criticism. Feel and dive into the pain without denial of its presence. It won't go away if you constantly shove it aside. Well, I couldn't shove mine aside. The pain was so intense and so overwhelming, both mentally and physically. There was no way I could deny it or shove it aside, as much as I wanted to. I remember initially I thought, I can't handle this pain. I can't do it. And I was trying to figure out ways to escape it. That wasn't a good road to go down either. The pain had to be faced. I had to accept it in order to move on. And with help, I did that. I did end up going to depression. I had to go to the doctor and get antidepressants and sleeping pills in order to face my pain, which helped a lot. And I'm off both now, happily. Number 3, know that feeling afraid is normal. Learn to face and overcome your fears by taking a close look at your anxiety over the marriage ending and ask yourself if it is truly valid. Usually the majority of what you think you're afraid of has no real basis. If you are afraid your next partner will cheat on you, ask yourself if you are telling yourself this because that's what you experienced in the past. Well, she jumps right into a new relationship, and I wasn't even thinking along those lines. I'm really not thinking along those lines now, nearly 10 years later. What I was mostly afraid of was, first off, I was afraid of the example this showed my children and the confusion and the pain that it would play in their lives. I was worried about that. Then I was also worried about how I'm going to start a new life. It was a gray divorce. I never really worked on a career because my husband took care of that. That was the deal we made. I took care of the kids, had a part-time job. His deal was to be the major breadwinner, take care of insurance and retirement and all that. So all of a sudden I lost all of that. So there was a lot of fear and confusion. And I do disagree that there's no real basis for it, because there is a huge basis for it. And I just turn to God for wisdom. That's all I could do, turn to God and turn to others to help me along that road, trying to figure out what I needed to do. But I think some of the fears are baseless, but I think the majority of them are real. Number 4, learn what nurtures you. Accept yourself completely, all that you are and all that you are not. Spend time alone joyfully by journaling, reading, and meditating. Now is the time to do that one thing you always meant to do but kept putting it off. You have the power to create a life of your own making. Be proactive and take full responsibility for your happiness. And I think we need to do that. It may seem like an impossibility, but I think it is possible, and we need to work on these things. And for me, the things that nurture me are my faith, my friends, my activities, my family, my grandkids. All those things nurture me now, and I do try to focus on those things. Number 5, learn to express emotions instead of just talking about them. Deal with the anger constructively without harming yourself or others. Find a support system with a trusted friend or professional who can give you space to just be with your feelings. I never had trouble sharing my feelings. Anybody who would ask, I would tell them the story. I did eventually talk to a therapist years after my husband left me, and it didn't end up being what I wanted it to be. It was more like talking to a friend about activities that you were doing that week. I wanted to get down into the depths of the pain, so I've never really gone there. But even to this day, if you were to ask me a question about my divorce, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. I'm going to tell you honestly. I'm not going to make anything up. I have no trouble doing that. Number 6, express yourself authentically. The energy it takes to keep up pretenses is not worth it. By being real with people, you will find yourself connecting to others in a way you never had before, which speeds up the recovery process. If you feel betrayed by your spouse's infidelity, express that honestly and constructively. If you feel scared or relieved, do not be ashamed to talk about that either. And like I said, I have no trouble telling anybody my story. Just ask, I'll tell you. Number 7, forgive. Realize that forgiveness is more for your benefit than the other person's. As the famous saying goes, holding on to anger is like drinking the poison and expecting the other to die. I never really thought about that before. That quote just hit me. I'd never heard of it before either, but it's kind of true. And I think you do need to forgive. Forgiveness to me is not saying, oh, honey, I love you, I forgive you, of course, baby. No. Forgiveness is saying, okay, I'm letting go of that anger toward this thing. I'm not going to hold it against you, but I will never trust you again. You've got to learn from your mistakes. For me, that is my form of forgiveness. I will not be mean to you. I will let go of the anger I have toward you, but I will not trust you, because if I did, that would be kind of foolish. Number 8, trust the process. Keep going. Every step, no matter how small, is moving you forward. It may not always seem that way, but you're making positive progress toward a healthier future without infidelity. It's baby steps. For me, initially, it was hard to just get out of bed. But for me, that was progress. Getting out of bed, eating my breakfast, going to work. All those things are tiny baby steps toward progress. I don't think any step is too small. Just keep going and they will get bigger as you go. Number 9, set long-term goals for yourself. This is a real indicator that you have let go of the past and are ready to move on. Start to sow the seeds for your future and create some exciting plans for yourself. And I agree. It's essential to set goals. I think if you don't set goals, things will not get done. But in the beginning, I don't see setting long-term goals. I couldn't have set any long-term goals in the beginning. I could barely complete the goal of brushing my teeth, let alone setting long-term goals. But when you go on, you'll be able to develop those goals and you'll be able to accomplish them. But the process is different for everyone. Some people are really, really slow at getting through their divorce, and I've been nearly 10 years. And I finally feel like I'm over the pain. Not of him. I was over the pain of him quite some time ago, but the pain of the separation of a marriage and a family. That was the hard thing for me to get over. And I'm finally seeing the light. And the pain's still there, but I'm finally seeing the light of mental freedom, perhaps. Realize you always have a choice. Life can seemingly throw stuff at you out of left field. With every circumstance that comes your way, you have a choice in how to deal with that situation. Where there is life, there is always hope and possibilities. I decided early on, even in the depths of my pain in the beginning, I decided to choose hope. I decided to choose to look at my life as an adventure. And I really, really wanted to be happy, so I fought for that. And I think it's something you have to fight for, but you can win. You can. I mean, I did. I'm very happy where I am now. It's not the life I had dreamed for myself, but because I did get, like she said, stuff was thrown at me from left field, but I was able to overcome that pain and continue to move on. I have grandchildren I adore. I have a home. I have food on the table. I have my faith in God, and I'm very happy. I hope somehow these few things in this article have helped you in your divorce process, or like she said, in your acceptance of infidelity in your marriage. And always remember that God will never leave you or forsake you. He's always with you. You guys take care. I will see you next time. God bless you. Bye-bye.